Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, finally to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, it's your co-host Big Wos, aka Wos and Nando, and I'm joined as always by my partner on the west side of Los Angeles, Nando Vila. What's up, bro?
You say joined as always, but lately it's been joined sometimes.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more sporadic. You know, It is what it is. Everybody's got a life to live, but we got to touch the people every now and again. It's important to touch the people when we can. Yeah, man, on today's show, definitely want to talk about, because I feel like a lot of people on social freaking out about the sort of, I don't even want to know what you call this right now, the head-to-head happening between Israel and Iran. And yesterday afternoon, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, we had a quite unfortunate for me, fortunate for Nando result in the Champions League quarterfinal between Man City and Real Madrid. We want to talk about that. But first, Nando, man, just to speed the people up who haven't been paying attention, Israel is obviously on a bombing campaign, rampage, even though they tell people it's like the most precision war ever executed. That's what their like military spokespeople and people that like sort of go out and shill on behalf of Israel says they're waging the most precise war ever, Nando. That's what we're told. And in the midst of waging this crazy war, two crazy things happened. One, Jose Andres, his aid mission, the World, what's it called? The World Food Corp?
The World Central Kitchen.
World Central Kitchen. They were trying to feed Palestinians in Gaza. 3 trucks got bombed to smithereens in 3 different locations. These people were in contact with the Israeli authorities, like, yo, we're bringing food. We're like a known, respected, or this isn't like some organization they could peg as being like, oh, this is just Hamas, trying to sneak in some weapons or blah. Like, this is a known, respected entity. They bombed the shit out of these people because they were trying to feed Palestinians essentially on purpose. They did this. And it's not even refuted. They're just like, oh, the people on the ground fucked that up when we fired a couple of generals. But it happened on purpose by the Israeli. Like, this is not disputed. This is like the authorities are saying, the people at the top are saying there was some miscommunication at the bottom and they acted on their own and they purposely killed some people trying to bring aid into Gaza. Okay, it caused an uproar. I think some like Germans or Australians or some Western people were part of the convoy. And so it was like Jose Andres went on like all kinds of news shows in America. This motherfucker crying. These people he knew personally, they got killed trying to do this shit, this mission. So there's a huge uproar, whatever. In the midst of all of this, Israel levels, the IDF levels an Iranian embassy. Where was this, in Syria?
Yeah, Damascus, the capital of Syria.
In Damascus, in Syria. They completely level an Iranian embassy. That, for all intents and purposes, for people who don't know, like your embassy is essentially, it's your soil in whatever country it's in. So it's essentially they attacked, unprovoked, they attacked the Iranian embassy, flattened it. Iran, they sort of put out a statement. They're like, our response is going to be measured. They telegraph this response. They tell the U.S., like, yo, we have to do something. We're not going to go scorched earth, but like we're doing something. And they launched some missiles, some drone missiles. They got intercepted. I heard like something like a majority, like 70% of the intercepted missiles were intercepted by the American military because, of course, like when people are like, oh, why do Americans care? Like, we're prosecuting this war in a lot of ways. So whatever, that happens. And the Israelis are now saying they've threatened their own retaliation to the retaliation. They didn't say when they're going to do it, but they're saying we have to respond. They attacked us, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of people think that where this is headed, Nando, is massive regional conflict over there. And just make no mistake about it. If Israel and Iran go to war, there is going to be an insane amount of bloodshed.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing preventing a broader war, which, as you say, would be horrific, is Iran's restraint, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know, I
Hmm.
think,
Hmm.
I mean, I think they've shown remarkable restraint given the brazen provocations
Oh
and
yeah.
just complete, flouting of any sort of international norms. I mean, they blew up that building in the embassy compound and killed one of their top generals.
Yep.
Um, it wasn't just kind of the janitors who got killed. I mean, they killed one of the top Iranian generals in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Um, and Iran responded by kind of doing this. They did this kind of very loud and flashy attack, but they warned the Israelis and the Americans ahead of time. It was very specifically limited to kind of military targets. I don't think anyone was killed. I think maybe one person died later, but it was a kind of attack just for show. And then they immediately said that they considered the matter closed. It was like, if we if you guys don't do anything, and like, we're not going to this, we'll call this like even, if that's okay with you guys. I mean, but the context is like that Israel's clearly trying to drag Iran into the war. Israel's trying to provoke Iran into the war. And it's been reported recently that Israel didn't even alert the United States that it was going to do this. They alerted them like, just hours before. Like they didn't check with them. Just flaunting any sort of pretense that they're any sort of real partner to the United States. I mean, that's what's really kind of quite shocking.
Oh yeah.
Is like just how
Brazen.
little they care and brazen they are, and just how and just like the lack of any sense of pride that American leaders have to stand up to this. I mean, be like, we're the United States, we're the superpower. You gotta like, you can't just do this.
I have a
Like,
couple
they
of
don't
thoughts
care.
about this. I have a couple of thoughts
I
about
was like,
this.
be
One,
a man, Brandon.
yeah, like
Come
do
on.
something. Right.
Yeah.
One, like, everybody says that Netanyahu, he's facing corruption charges, as he's dragging this war out as long as he possibly can, because the day that it's over, the day that he goes back to just being,
Yeah.
a bureaucrat, he's got all these problems that he's facing, that he's deeply unpopular, yada yada yada. So he's doing this. Part of me feels like the reason why he knows he can do this is because the military industrial complex is also cheering this on. Like, the powers that be are not going to be like, no, we can't have a major war breakout between Israel and Iran. Like, we would not only fund that war, these people would stand to become enriched. And so, like, people who are very influential in foreign policy circles, they are not against this as a concept, as an idea. They've been, not only have they ideologically are they opposed to Iran as, like, again, we say this all the time, like, they kicked our guys out in 1979 and we never paid them back for that shit. So, like, these guys want to get them back for that, first of all. But, like, it would be very lucrative for the fucking military industry. Am I crazy for thinking this?
No, I mean, you're not crazy for thinking. I mean, I don't think, I think that as far as the president goes or the administration goes, they don't want a war with Iran. I mean, are there elements of the American deep state and the American military industrial complex that are frothing at the mouth at a war with Iran? Absolutely. And the American empire is large and vast and complex, and it's not just the dictums of the president or whatever do not necessarily
just a question. Do like these cats,
the
do
whole
they
thing.
really think they could take over Iran somehow? Like, they could start a war and take it over? Do they really think that?
Yes, I suppose so. I suppose so. I suppose they do. I mean,
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, or that, the same delusion that they always think, whether it was Iraq or Afghanistan or or like what they talk about with things like Venezuela or whatever, where it's like, oh, if they just got rid of the bad leaders, the people would rise up and, you know, install their own kind of good pro-American liberal capitalist democracy or whatever. And it's just like, it's just a fantasy land, you know? So yeah, no, I mean, whether they actually believe I mean, who knows? I mean, they probably do on some level, many of the people, but I do think like the last thing Biden wants is a big regional war in the Middle East with Iran. Like he doesn't want that. And instead of just like reining Israel in, which he absolutely could, and any liberal who tells you that he cannot is lying. He absolutely could. He could, you know, he can. It's as simple as conditioning the military budgets that we keep sending over there on certain conditions. That would make them change their tune very quickly. But they don't impose any pain on Israel for the brazen kind of actions of their government. They just kind of leak to the New York Times how annoyed they are with them and how upset Biden is with Netanyahu, but he's not going to actually do anything. I mean, it just makes him look unbelievably weak. Because he is being weak. I mean, it's not just looking weak. I mean, he's being weak. And that's such a huge factor, I think, in the collapse of his polling, is that he comes off as weak. And people don't want their president in America to be ineffectual and weak, regardless of whether you agree with them or not on the issues. And right. I think people focus too much on this issue as to like whether they, you know, people support Israel or Palestine. I think people's opinions on those kind of foreign conflicts can vary widely. I think the images coming out of Gaza are so horrifying that I'm sure probably people are broadly horrified by the conflict. But what they really are annoyed by, and the reason why the president's poll numbers keep collapsing, is because he just comes off as weak and unable or unwilling to deal with the problem and just end this, you know, which that's what people want.
Right. And I don't think, like, for instance, with Barry, let's just take Trump out the equation, who just all he did was show for us. Like that was his thing. But even something like the Iran peace treaty, right? Or peace deal or whatever the hell it was. I don't think Americans were just like, oh, like, why are we doing this with Iran? And they have these like deep thoughts, but it's just like, all right, Barry's leading some initiative that he freaking believes in, and he did it. He just did it. A bunch of the people in the foreign policy wing, the deep state, were like, this is bullshit. Those are our enemies, blah, 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 blah. We're pissed off. Israel was certainly, oh my God, does Bibi hate Barry and them? He just fucking hates Obama. They were pissed. Some of our allies were pissed, but he just did it. And there was no fucking backlash to that. He just did it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He just led. And Biden's whole thing is like leaks to the Times and Politico about tisk. Oh, I can't believe it. They fucking trot out Chuck Schumer out there to be like, the Israelis should hold an election immediately and we don't fuck with Bibi. And it's so weak and ineffectual and just like, what, bro? Like, that's what you do? You're like standing on your freaking high horse in Washington, and you're telling the people in Israel, like, yo, this is how your election should be ran. Like, it's so weak. Like, it's the weakest way that you could have opposed that regime. It's like, why don't you guys hold elections? It's so like, what are they doing? Like, it's just so strange. And you know, all the things that you read about this, it's like some people think that there is a lot of posturing on the part of the Israelis because they are, you know, the right wing, the most frothing at the mouth right wing faction of their society are empowered. Like, these guys aren't fringe. They're ascendant. They're powerful, and they're like, yo, fuck that. We need to get these people back. But you know, you hear a lot of things out there that a lot of it might just be some talk, and that, you know, cooler heads will prevail here. But this is scary stuff, man. Like, I don't think people understand the level of destruction that would be wrought if these people really decided that the smart thing to do was to be at war with Iran. And, you know, obviously the Saudis would love it. Obviously the Emiratis would love it. But that doesn't mean it would be a good idea. I don't know. Like, So like the Saudi regime is a lot stronger than Saddam was in 2003 when we toppled him. Obviously,
Iran.
sorry, excuse me, the Iranian regime
Yeah.
is a lot stronger. Obviously, there was no freaking regime in Afghanistan. Damn, there was just the Taliban when we went in there. Like the degrees of difference, man, can't be understated. Like these people are formidable, bro.
Yeah.
Like this wouldn't be some cakewalk. Like this, they would fight the hell out of this, and we would probably get cooked.
You know, Iran and Iraq, you know, they sound the same and have a different, just one single letter is different, but they couldn't be more different. I mean, Iran is a far more powerful, richer country, more developed than Iraq ever was. You know, they fought a war in the 1980s. The Iran-Iraq War, I think, is the bloodiest war in the 20th century outside of the world wars.
Wow.
And Iraq had the full backing of the United States back then, weapons, you know, money, etc. And Iran won. Iran won that war, you know, after a long, bloody war. But, you know, despite the fact that they were being supported by the West and, you know, everyone wanted the Iranian regime to fall, the kind of new Iranian regime that had just taken over and was still kind of finding its feet, they won that war pretty handily in the end. And yeah, I mean, I just want to hammer home, like, that, you know, I think the way that Western media portrays things like the Iranian regime or organizations like Hezbollah in southern Lebanon are as these kind of, like, you know, evil, crazy terrorists who are dangerous. And I'm like, I mean, they're not like nice regimes. Like the Iranian regime is not good. I don't want to live under that kind of, it's not like you can have a more sophisticated look on the world instead of just like, oh, they're evil or they're good. But I want to stress that Israel has bombed an Iranian embassy compound in Syria, killed one of their top generals, and Iran essentially didn't do anything. They did like a kind of showy, but they didn't respond in kind in any way. And Israel has also been bombing southern Lebanon in the wake of the Hamas attack on October 7th. And Hezbollah has not responded in kind either. You know, that they're doing everything they can to avoid a direct confrontation with Israel, which would be disastrous for everyone involved. Despite Israel's best efforts, I mean, I think Israel would love to drag Hezbollah into the conflict, or Iran, or both. Like they're just on a war path right now. Like it's like if somebody doesn't stop them, like they're on a kind of insane, just absolute war path. I mean, then they'll tell you like, oh, you know, Hamas, they're just Iranian proxies, like as if like the Iranian, you know, mullahs or whatever control Hamas from Tehran. And it's just like, it's not true. Like, sure, there's broad support and things like that, and like probably some degree of logistical support at some point or whatever. But like to say that they're just like controlled, like it's just ridiculous to think of that. I mean, you know, like Hamas, for all what it's worth, is a kind of native guerrilla organization within Gaza, within the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's this tiny little closed off garden in right on the border with Israel, like, and far away from Iran. Like, it's
this isn't the Tea Party that was astroturfed by the goddamn Koch brothers, y'all. This is legitimate people of the soil who are pissed off, and let's face it, they've employed some tactics that I might not have advised them to. I'd be like, oh, whoa, this seems kind of over the top, y'all. This seems kind of on the border. But again, these are desperate people living in the most desperate times in conditions that nobody in our country could even fucking imagine, right? But again, like this idea that they're being puppeteered by the Iranian regime is nonsense.
Yeah, no, it is. So yeah, just pray and hope that that this thing doesn't get out
Yeah,
of hand,
and
because
what
that
I
would be
will
bad.
say too, I think I've seen a lot of like, oh, World War III, we might be on the brink. I don't think it's quite that. Like, I don't think it's like, like China would be like, yo, we gotta get involved in, you know, and then and then a Chinese ship gets taken down by an American destroyer. I don't think all of that. I think it would be contained to the Middle East, and I think China and Russia and the various other major players in the world, the EU, NATO, whatever, would back their sides. But I don't think it would be like actual, World War III, or at least that's
Yeah.
my hope. Maybe I'm taking too optimistic a read on this thing.
You never know.
But yeah, you never know. Exactly. Yeah, man, we gotta talk Champions League, because yesterday, man, watching the end of that game. So I got off of a work thing and I pretty much turned the TV on when Pep subbed Doku in for, again, this is Manchester United, played Real Madrid at the Etihad in freaking Manchester. Pep subs Doku in, I think it's like the 64th minute for Jack Grealish, and he immediately starts making shit happen. He's taking on he's just taking Carvajal on, not afraid of this dude Carvajal, who is 33 years old at this point. Which
he's got 5 Champions Leagues. He's got 5 Champions Leagues under his belt. Okay, 5 Champions League titles. Okay, Carvajal, a little respect. I want a little respect here for Dani Carvajal. Carvajal has 5 Champions Leagues. Okay,
but
that's more than
down.
Barcelona has. Yeah,
just facts.
For example.
They're down 0-1. Doku immediately starts making, like, he changes the complexion of the game, man. And off of a rebound, De Bruyne scores, tied up. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get the winner here in the closing 30. It's gonna happen. De Bruyne, man, love KDB. He blew 2 really beautiful chances. They had,
there was one was really bad. One in the 80th minute with 10 minutes left. That is a goal. Like, you must score.
That's a goal.
You must score that.
Brutal. Just brutal.
Yeah.
And
that's what I knew we were going to win.
KDB is our best player, and he's saved us so many times in the past. That was brutal. Of course, this goes into extra time. Nothing happens. It goes into motherfucking...
the best chance at extra time, by the way, was Rudiger for Madrid almost scored at extra time, which would have been hilarious.
Facts. Yeah. We go to freaking, penalty kicks, which, again, this shit is a crapshoot. But of course, the subplot, KDB came off. Erling Haaland came off, who I know he's been getting killed in the British papers.
Well, he apparently asked to be subbed off.
Well, he just wasn't feeling it. He was tired.
Or I think he was spent. I mean, it's tough to play a game. 120 minutes is a lot.
Yeah,
it's soccer. There's no stopping.
It's insane. And that guy does a lot of movement.
There's no timeouts. There's no.
Yeah, he's someone who does a lot of movement. Anyway, these guys left the game, left the match, and so we get to penalty shootout. Who missed that first shot for you guys?
So the first one
Luka
was
Modric missed,
and Julian Alvarez scored. So Man City was shooting first, and Julian Alvarez scored the first one, and then Modric missed the first one. It was a save.
Luka Modric missed.
It's hilarious, dude. So what happened was Modric misses his penalty. Modric is like a legend, former Ballon d'Or winner, one of the best midfielders of all time. For him to miss a penalty and he's made penalties in World Cup, in crucial World Cup games for Croatia. Like, this guy's been there,
he's a god. Yeah.
So he was frustrated with himself for taking a pretty bad penalty. It was saved by Ederson. The ball came back to him, and out of frustration, Modric kicked it as far as he could into the stands. And I didn't realize this, but when they do a penalty shootout, when they do a penalty shootout, they only have one ball, and so. But the ball's like in the stands, like super deep in the stands. And so Bernardo Silva, who is taking the next penalty, is there waiting for like over a minute for the ball to come back, because they had to wait for it to come back. The ref was like, it was taking so long. The ref was actually like asking the third official or whatever if they could get a replacement ball or whatever. And finally the ball comes back from the stands. So it was a little bit of like, I don't think Modric did it on purpose, but he was like kind of icing the kicker.
He iced the kicker.
He iced him. Yeah. And apparently there are like people who follow this like very closely and do like the advanced stats and shit. the longer it takes for in between penalties for a kicker to take a penalty, the more of a like the greater the chance he's going to miss it.
That's
Like the
insane.
icing of the kicker actually works.
Oh my
So
God.
that was the Bernardo Silva penalty, which he shot straight down the middle, which, by the way, is the highest percentage shot you can take in the penalty
So
shootout.
he was being a brainiac. I was saying that to a buddy. I was like, Bernardo is probably the most cerebral player on Man City. He's an actual wizard. This guy sees things happening before they do. He might have freaking, overthought this and was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go with the highest percentage
Well,
of
but the thing is,
shot.
apparently he'd done it in the past. So I guess there was a scouting report, because it's very rare for a keeper not to dive. Like it takes balls from him, because if Lunin just stands there and he doesn't dive and the penalty flies into the side corner, like he looks bad. You know what I mean? So it takes balls to just stand there and catch the ball down in the middle, because that's the highest percentage penalty you can take, because there's a less chance of missing it. And the keepers always choose a side and dive. Always. So if you just go straight down the middle, especially if you take some heat off of it to give the keeper time to fly away, that's like why they do sometimes the Panenka shot, where they chip it slowly down the middle, because it gives the keeper time to move away, and by the time
when
like,
they
the
do the
ball
hesitation and then they hit it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
Bernardo,
so that was like I feel that was a huge momentum change to
that's
save
when
a
I
penalty
knew
that way.
the match was lost. When
And then did you
Bernardo
see the image?
Silva.
So the next one was Kovacic, right? Your boy Kovacic, who used to play for Madrid and used to play for Chelsea. And one of his teammates at Chelsea was Rudiger. They were on the same team. And if you watch the image from behind the Madrid players were standing in a line watching the penalty. So behind Kovacic, right? Kovacic can't see them, but the Real Madrid keeper could see them. Rudiger is standing as Kovacic is running to take the PK, and he's pointing that way. He's pointing. He's telling Lunin where to go, because he remembers from his Chelsea days.
He knows where this guy wants to go.
Yeah, and so that's why when Lunin saved it, you watch I'll send you a link of the image. Rudiger's going like crazy. He's going like that way. It's actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah, and Kovacic, again, a guy, he's not my favorite player. He's a dude who, as soon as he touches the ball, Nando, he's absolutely never looking at the net. Yeah. He is always he's never trying to advance the ball. He's trying to pass it laterally or behind. Yeah. He's never trying to make a play, ever.
He's never really established himself as a full-time starter on a top team. He's always been kind of like a backup on, Madrid. At Madrid, he was always a backup. Like, he was a nice player you could bring on. Like, sometimes you need backups that, don't complain and can give you some quality minutes. But he's never.
We had to
he's not like I review. Like, he's not
for that reason. Yeah, for sure.
When they. When Guardiola signed Kovacic, I was like a little surprised, because I was like, he's just like not his type of player too, because he's more of a ball progressor, like a ball carrier rather than a passer. Like his pass, he's kind of sneakily fast and can progress with the ball at his feet sometimes, but he doesn't do it that consistently, and he doesn't break lines with his passes.
He's not trying to do that. It's just not what he wants to do. Because like when you watch, Akanji, or obviously Kyle Walker and some of the other guys on the back line, like, these dudes are trying to advance the ball. Like, they are constantly trying to do this. Like, when you watch those guys play as opposed to Kovacic, I'm just like, oh my God. And in the biggest fucking moment in the match after Bernardo misses, is Kovacic up there. I knew he was going to choke that. Like, there was just no way he was going to come up. This guy, he's not trying. He's never trying to seize a moment in a match, So, like, just the idea that this guy was going to seize the day, it just felt impossible. And once he missed that, everybody in the building sort of knew it was over. And yeah, man, Real Madrid advances. You told me 12 Champions League semifinal in 14 years.
Yeah, 12 and 14. That's an insane record. I don't know if that'll ever be topped. That's so difficult. I mean, look at this Champions League, these quarterfinals that we just saw. One of the best. I mean, the Champions League lately, ever since they took away the away goals rule, these ties have been so much more exciting, because the away goals, it got everyone feeling really cagey. You didn't want to concede at home, so you weirdly played defensive at home because you didn't want to concede an away goal. And when they got rid of it, teams just started flying out and just like going for it.
I'll say
and
that.
these quarterfinals have been so exciting.
Going for it.
You know, but like think about it. I mean, the Barcelona PSG tie was incredible. I mean, Barcelona won in Paris 3-2, like incredibly dramatic, and then get the red card in the first half, and then PSG turns the tie around.
By the way, that was terrible.
I think so too. That was really
he fucking tackled the guy. That was brutal.
Honestly, and half of his teammates came out publicly. I mean, they were that angry with him, like with and like bro, Gundogan came out and was like, "Dude, he fucked us. Like, he's an idiot. You know, like you don't do that." That's like the difference between a top team and just a team that's not used to being there, which Barcelona lately has not been used to being there. But also the Borussia Dortmund Atletico Madrid tie was super exciting. It was unclear who's going to get through at any moment. And then the Arsenal Bayern, now it's Madrid Bayern in one semifinal, which I think Madrid would be the favorites because Bayern has struggled this season. And Madrid plays the second leg at home, which is always a huge advantage. And then the other half is Borussia Dortmund versus PSG. So you might see a PSG Madrid final with Mbappe playing his final game for PSG before going to Madrid.
Before he goes to Madrid. Yeah. Insane. Just incredible. Like the level of play, like I think, and that's amazing. That's what's been.
This is the third time Man City and Madrid. This is the third time in a row Man City and Madrid face each other in the Champions League. Madrid eliminated Man City in that incredible comeback. I mean, the two times Madrid have eliminated Man City, it's been like a miracle. Like
just champion shit.
Yeah,
just insane.
Just so exciting. Just so exciting.
Yeah. And that's what's been most commented upon is like, the free and open nature of the matches. It's not a bunch of guys, teams just being like, all right, let's just drop in defense and do nothing and just poke the ball out barely when the team gets it inside of our freaking square. These guys are flying up and down the pitch. It was incredible, man. I think, honestly, we were talking about this on text. I think losing Gundogan has been just like a major blow to the attack. The attack. Like,
so Gundogan,
it's just something been missing.
People are wondering why Erling Haaland is struggling this season compared to last season. He's not scoring as much. He doesn't look right. One of the big reasons is Gundogan at the top of the box, filtering passes through, creating opportunities, creating space, is just one of the best in the world at that. I mean, he's just so elite when he gets the ball at his feet, the top of the box, to make something happen. I mean, he just sees all the angles, and he would create so much for Haaland. I mean, that was like, and Man City is really struggling with that because most teams play a low block, what they call a low block against Man City because they're so technically gifted. And Madrid played a low block, and it's hard to break through if you don't have like those skill players to create stuff. I mean, De Bruyne is an incredible player, but he's not the same kind. He needs a little bit of space. Like he needs to be able to spread his legs out and and he, he's not like a little Gundogan just like finds space. He's not good in the
little tight spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a huge loss. I mean, I get why they let him go. He's old. He's been around forever.
Yeah, he's older. Like Phil Foden has definitely like flourished this year. Like this dude turning into an absolute goal machine. Yeah, like just he
was real quiet. Happen. He was real quiet on Wednesday though. It was real quiet. I don't know. I didn't hear his name. We didn't hear his name too much on Wednesday because Ferland Mendy is a shutdown defender. I mean, he just is one of the best shutdown defenders in the game.
And like I said, man, they had their chances. They screwed it. Real Madrid absolutely deserved that match. It was just gut wrenching, just really dramatic stuff. And although I'm on a World Soccer media break for the next week, I'll be back.
You can't listen to the podcast.
No, I can't. I'm not reading anything. I'm not reading Sam Lee.
Well, who are you rooting for the rest of the Champions League? Or who you got? What team do you like?
I would like to see PSG not win, probably.
Anything but that, right? Yeah,
anything but PSG winning, I think would be great. Honestly, I don't really give a shit. I know because like I'm not jaded enough to have all of this built up animosity towards Real Madrid the way like pretty much everybody else does. Like everybody looks at them as the Yankees, the Cowboys, the like. the evil empire or whatever. Like, I don't really feel that way, but like, yeah, I think it'd be cool. Obviously, it'd be really cool if Dortmund could win a fucking Champions League. Like, that would be sick. And what's his name? Harry Kane, man. He got out of England for
guy.
this. This is
well, he got out to win at least a league, and he didn't even win the league because my guy Xabi Alonso is undefeated with Leverkusen in their first ever league title, man.
Crazy.
Shout out to Xabi Alonso.
Crazy.
The new Guardiola.
Undefeated. The new Guardiola. Now this guy's talking blasphemy. This guy's crazy. This guy came up here to talk crazy.
By the way, what Xabi Alonso has done this season with Leverkusen is more impressive than anything Guardiola has done with any team ever.
I mean,
he won they never won a league before.
Ever. It's been 12 years of Bayern winning the league. This is insane. And by the way, there's like 6 matches to go, and they've already won.
Yeah, they crushed it. Look at Bayern's squad; they're fucking strong. I mean, they're stacked. Yeah, Bayern is stacked. Yeah, loaded. And I don't know what the fuck happened there, but Leverkusen, who's got a bunch of guys you never heard of.
And he's committed to stay. He's not gonna just hop on
at least one more year
to the next big thing next year. They're gonna defend the crown. They're gonna play in Champions League. It's gonna be beautiful next year. Yeah, man, that's our show for today. Make sure you subscribe to Count the Dinks Patreon at patreon.com/Count the Dinks. Shouts to my man John Gervais on the 1s and 3s, man. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.